Hey guys, Rob here with McDojoLife. In today's McDojo news, we're going to talk about how a martial arts instructor convinced his fiancée that he was a government agent and then went on to stalk her. Let's check out the story. A martial arts coach who convinced his partner he was an MI6 agent had a fake passport in the name of his fictional alter ego, a court heard this week. The woman said Peter Moran, age 56, used spyware on her phone to, quote, track my every move during their 5-year relationship and for months after they split. He bombarded her with messages, some detailing her phone use, demanding to account for messages and falsely accusing her of cheating on him. He also turned up at her home and workplace, sometimes with a bunch of flowers demanding a reconciliation, sometimes hurling abuse, and once banging on her window until she returned his engagement ring. She said she finally called the police after seeing the extent of his cyber surveillance on his computer screen when she visited his flat to plead with him to leave her alone. And his, quote, parting shot was to shout threats that he would email intimate pictures of them to her friends and colleagues if she called the cops. Moran is on trial for stalking, possessing a fake passport, and possessing cannabis, all of which he denies. The woman, who cannot be named for legal reasons, told a jury at Hove Crown County Court on Tuesday about 6 months after we met, he started to introduce the fact that he did something else for a living other than teaching martial arts. He said he was a part of MI6, an active member, and he was often called away for missions. It was so insidious and so slow, and the detail around it was so in-depth that I began to believe it. And to be honest, I thought, why would you want to make this stuff up and get called out? The stories became very elaborate and detailed, and he would disappear supposedly because he was on a mission somewhere in a dangerous situation. The pair met in 2015 and embarked on a 5-year relationship during which Moran's behavior became increasingly erratic. She said he would disappear for weeks at a time without any contact and then turn up with no explanation. And he would expect her to drop everything to do whatever he wanted her to do, which she learned to agree to in order to avoid provoking an angry outburst until it became her, quote, normal. She said he would sometimes take her phone, saying he was cleaning it up for her, and she believed this is when he installed the spyware apps on it. On at least one occasion, he showed her videos of her screen as she had been scrolling through Facebook, interrogating her over videos she had watched. It was only when her adult son moved in with her and saw how he was acting that she realized how controlling he had been. What she called her light bulb moment. On November 19th, she messaged him to say that she wanted nothing more to do with him and told him not to contact her anymore. It was then he began to bombard her with emails, WhatsApp and Facebook messages, phone calls and texts, using new numbers or accounts when she blocked him. She admitted replying to a few messages when he had accused her of cheating in order to protect her innocence. On January 31st of 2020, she went to his flat in Downland Drive, Hove, first telling her son where she was going. She said he had a big television screen connected to his computer, and I noticed there were a lot of tabs open along the bottom, which all had my face and name on all of them, which concerned me a lot. I told him to stop messaging me or I would call the police. He started pacing and I told him I was going to leave, and he became aggressive and spitting in my face and literally foaming at the mouth and calling me vile names. He said, "You're not going to leave without my help." He was blocking the door and I couldn't go out. Eventually he moved, and as his parting shot, he said, "I'm going to email intimate photos and videos of us to your friends and your work." She reported him to the police the same day, and when a police officer came to take a statement the following day, Moran called her on an unknown number. She said, "I showed the officer messages and screenshots of the tracking, and I think that was when the policeman began to think this was a bit more serious than he had first anticipated." About 15 minutes after the officer left, Moran again turned up to her flat. She called the mobile number the officer gave her, and Moran was arrested soon afterwards. The prosecutor, Simon Shannon, said police conducted a search of his address and found 2 items. The first was a small amount of cannabis along with a partially smoked joint. The second was a British passport with Mr. Moran's face and the name of Raven Clay, with a date of birth a week after his. He said, in regards to the fake passport, it was a part of a role play that she was involved in, and Raven Clay was a fictitious MI6 operative that he pretended to be, and his ex knew that and indulged in that role play with him. He does not accept the cannabis was his. The trial continues. Let's try to unpack that. So this martial arts instructor is dating this woman for a very long time. As a matter of fact, she's even engaged to him. Over the course of their relationship, he has slowly but surely been trying to convince her that he is an MI6 agent. She believes that, for some reason, and then he continues down the path of being a stalking, creepy person. He installs software on her phone so that way he can keep track of being able to see what she's doing on her phone, where she is, and all that other good stuff. So finally, it sounds like her son, who moved in with her, finally convinced her, like, look, this dude's a nut job. And to be honest, this sounds exactly like the plot of True Lies, where the used car salesman's trying to convince the chick that he's some type of special agent when he's really not at all. But in this particular story, unlike True Lies, he actually convinces her to start dating him.
Promise of adventure, a hint of danger.
So basically you're lying your ass off the whole time.
What a weasel. And then when they go to court, the dude decides to say, hey man, I was all part of role play. I just made this fake passport, this fake identity. She was in on it. I guess if he believes that, she also had to be in on the stalking. Look, man, all of that is going to be very easy to prove. If there was some type of a software installed on her phone, that'll be easy to prove. If he was harassing her through all kinds of online messages, phone calls, DMs, that's easy to prove. They even found weed in his house, and he was like, that's not mine, man.
It wasn't me.
I'm so glad this wacko got caught, and I can't wait to find out what happens with the trial. So, that brings us to the question of the day. Do you have a story about stalking, whether it happened to you or someone else? If you're comfortable with answering that question, please be sure to answer that in the comment section below. I'm sure there are a lot of people out there who can relate to something like this, and might even learn something from your or someone else's story. Be sure to answer that question in the comment sections below before you write anything else, so that way I know that you watched the entire video. Also, shout out to my sponsors. I never do this. Shout out to Killcliff. Shout out to RDX Sports. Shout out to Monkey Tape. And shout out to my newest sponsor, X Martial Apparel. By the way, you can get discounts on all of those things if you just check out the link in the bio. With that said, thank you all for the likes, comments, shares, subscriptions, and even memberships. Keep the martial arts legit.
My baby got robbed the other day by degenerate. So she wanted to learn some new form of this self-defense. So she did her research and perused it online and found this dude said he could move shit with his mind. He called himself Seafood Paul Zimmerman. He got a dojo with a strip mall near Cinnabon. Now she spends all day trying to break boards with her thoughts, but the only thing she's breaking is my little heart.